Well, South Africa is one of the countries with the highest rates of gender-based violence. Now, the Democratic Alliance is calling for policing powers to be transferred to provincial governments. The party says this will help combat the scourge. Let's discuss this further with David Bruce, a researcher specializing in policing and public health security. David, thanks for your time. So the Democratic Alliance reckons it would be better if they had some sort of control or say around the SAPS in their province. Is that a good move?
Well, I essentially think that it's something that should be considered. I think it's something that could be of benefit to the policing system in South Africa. Right at the moment, we have a system that's functioning on a very centralized type of, in a centralized manner, and you know, there is obviously a lot of dissatisfaction about how the policing system is operating right at the moment. And as far as I can see, if approached in the right kind of way, certain forms of decentralization would be of benefit and would be compatible with the constitutional provisions as they stand.
Don't we have provincial police commissioners to actually do that, to focus on the provinces, the crimes in the provinces in certain areas, and how to deal with it? What value would a political party or a premier of a province add to that fight?
Well, you see, I mean, that's a good question, because essentially what one's talking about here is we have a type of hybrid system. There's some distribution of powers between the national level and the provincial level. And as I understand it, the only viable proposals for decentralization are for, you know, still something which remains a type of hybrid system. But to a large degree, despite the fact that there is some type of, you know, devolution provided for, the system functions very much at the moment on a type of one-size-fits-all type of basis, where to a very large degree, the shape of policing in the provinces is dictated at a national level. And, you know, my you know, understanding is that the centralized, nationally driven system, you know, as it currently provided for in legislation and so on, basically isn't working.
Yeah. So, of course, you know, there'll be no give-in when it comes to the police minister on this front. What can the Democratic Alliance or the province actually propose in terms of getting the minister to listen to this idea and give it some sort of consideration? Because in the past, we've seen the two sides clash over policing in the Western Cape, especially when it comes to those gang hotspots.
Yeah, well, you see, I mean, I think that the issue at the end of the day is about responsiveness. So, you know, I think you're correct that it's going to be fought out as a political issue. And, you know, the national minister is likely to resist it and to, you know, caricature the arguments in favor of it. So, you know, the critical issue for me is that, you know, we live in quite a kind of diverse country. There's 9 different provinces. The crime situation in each of the different provinces is very different. And so, you know, in order to ensure greater responsiveness in the policing system, you need to allow for greater decentralization. And one might refer also to the example of Canada, for instance, where, you know, there's something, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police is the national police service of Canada. And then in specific provinces, they've almost kind of handed responsibility for policing over to the provinces. But it isn't a kind of uniform system. And so, you know, one of the issues that we would have to engage with in addressing this issue in South Africa is that, you know, all of the provincial governments are not functioning quite at the same level of effectiveness. And so, you know, one of the questions would be whether one wants to, devolve responsibility in a uniform way, or whether one wants to have some kind of provision for it to be done in a more type of flexible way, depending partly on the capacity of provinces. But ultimately, I think it's we're going to have to move in this direction. You can't manage a policing system in a, regionally diverse country like South Africa in a top-down centralized manner. And so, I am inclined to think that it's just, it is ultimately a matter of time, and it's more a question about whether, the ANC is willing to engage with policing issues in a much more kind of forward-looking type of way, rather than defending a system which, clearly leaves a lot to be desired.
All right. Thank you so much for your insight. Appreciate it. David Bruce, a researcher specializing in policing and public health security.